very first Rethink Live for 2026. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to talk today about prospecting, the topic that is often a thorn in people's side, but the key to your success. Without further ado, it's not about chasing every lead. This is about identifying the best and right opportunities for you. We're going to have a wonderful discussion with some of our Rethink Council members across the country. Today's conversation will be led by Casey Levine from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, York Simpson Underwood in North Carolina. Also join us as our other broker advisor, Austin Nielsen from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Midwest Realty. The rest of our folks will introduce themselves as we get to it. And for now, I'm turning this over to Casey.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I am so excited for the first Rethink Live of this year, and I know our panelists are excited as well. Prospecting is something, it's on all of our minds. 2025 was a very interesting year, and I think that everybody's minds are, where's my business coming from in 2026? So without that, going any farther, Joe, lead us off. How are you prospecting in 2026?
Yeah, absolutely, Casey. Joe Lacerda from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach Realtors. I'm in the North Central New Jersey area. And yeah, a couple quick things I want to highlight are email newsletters. Personally, I really like them. Again, it's like a great way to stay in touch with your clients as well as be top of mind. But the way that I like to kind of raise the bar a little bit is I really focus on the subject line just as much as the actual newsletter. So I really want to make sure it's something that they want to click and look into. And the way I do that is now I kind of go into ChatGPT, Gemini, and I'll ask, act as a world-class data analyst, and please, what are the top 5 questions, that homeowners are asking or seeking information on? And then from there, I will pull that information. And so in February, what I did was I said, are sellers still receiving multiple offers, question mark, for my subject line. Something that I thought was a really hot topic because in my area, we're still having multiple offers. We have low inventory, and I had a 55% open rate. And I was really happy about that. So that's one way that I like to enhance the newsletter. And then another thing that I'm doing for prospecting is more for online presence, is that I am using a custom GPT in ChatGPT called the Agent Bio Visibility Optimizer. And that was created by Rajiv Saja. And basically what it does is it helps you enhance your bios. Because what's happening is people are starting to search more online for a real estate agent, and they're starting to go to ChatGPT, Gemini, et cetera, for that. So when you use keywords in your bios, the sources from ChatGPT are pulling, that's where it's pulling information from. So if you could use keywords like backed by 190 Zillow reviews and 70 plus Google reviews, if you could use the town that you sell the most in, having that town in your bio, having things like, lifetime sales, how many homes you've sold. These things are going to help you search and rank better when people are looking for a real estate agent in your area. So those are 2 ways that I love, kind of focusing on prospecting, and I've been getting some pretty good results from them.
That's amazing. ChatGPT is definitely here to stay, but I love how you're using it more than just descriptions, right? Just enhancing my bio. I think when you said this earlier about getting your 5 questions, like what are buyers looking for? It's not you coming up with the content. It's using ChatGPT to say, hey, what are the people actually looking for and what are they searching for? And I think that was an amazing idea.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting when you click those sources in ChatGPT, what it pulls from, you'll see it's sites like LinkedIn, Yelp, Zillow, Agent Pronto. There's so many websites that information's pulling from. So if you could just, kind of revamp your bios across every single website and platform that you can in the real estate industry, it's going to help your search.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next? Who has an idea that they're just waiting to share so much?
I will go. So I'm Amber Thiero. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway New England Properties in Northern Connecticut, and I also serve Massachusetts. So I'm doing prospecting a little differently this year for myself, and I'm really focusing on humanizing myself on my social media accounts. How I'm kind of doing that is being able to show my potential clients who I am prior to them meeting me. I'm trying to really be specific in what I'm posting and being on essentially creating something for them at least 5 times a week, if not more, and really challenging myself to focus on the content that I'm sharing. Each account has a different audience, so I'm really looking to key in on that. My followers are on Instagram, like watching those stories and the reels. Whereas on Facebook, they're liking the posts that have that depth to them. I'm starting to use LinkedIn as a way to trying to get a little more comfortable with it um, because it's a different audience that we can use as well. And I think being able to go with the different platforms is really going to be something that sets us as unique. Stories have been really something that I've been getting more comfortable with because they come more naturally and they're organic. Going through them and going through my day of what's important, what's been a life lesson from an inspection I just came on, a listing appointment I just came off of, sharing something that's a fun fact or even just a funny moment about me dropping my coffee in a puddle today. Like it just creates that kind of connection with my clients that I'm not getting through just being educational, but they're learning who I am. I've started doing that more and more, and they're starting the conversations. I've had a lot of outreach recently. I went to a store that opened this week. I posted my pastries. I had past clients, people that live in the town that I don't even know, start reaching out to me saying, "Oh, was it great?" And it's just really getting me to be developed as who I am, showing what I stand for, and making me be approachable.
No, that's lovely. Kaylee, that's kind of what you were touching on earlier as well, similar to Ambry.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, I'm Kaylee Eisenhower with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Northwest Real Estate, and I do the same sort of thing. Trying to engage with people on more of a personal level. It really creates that connection. Not everything's transactional in business. I definitely like to slide up on people's stories. Congratulate people for graduations or weddings, things like that. Even as small as, I love your outfit today. Where did you get it? Something like that. Yeah, makes all the difference.
You were talking at one point, I remember, about ideal clients and reaching them on social media, Kaylee.
Yes, absolutely. So I used AI, ChatGPT specifically, to create an ideal persona for my ideal client. I basically had it ask me a bunch of questions about past clients that I've helped. So it gave me basically an age range, what they do for work, and kind of like their lifestyle. That's how we're really searching for homes these days. It's not so much 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. It's I may need a office for my hybrid job. I may need an office for a baby in the future, or sorry, a room for a baby in the future. Same thing with a fenced yard for a dog. So I have a whole PDF document that has everything listed out, and some of their hardships as well. What are some things that they're running into? Increasing rents, all sorts of things like that. So you can gear your content that you post to fit that ideal client.
No, I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's also speaking to who you are as an agent and being super authentic to yourself when finding those ideal clients. And Ryan, who's more authentic than you?
I don't know. I feel like some of the stuff I've been putting out has made myself nervous, but people love it. And I am Ryan C. Benton with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, RW Town Realty. You can follow me on the gram at Ryan C. Benton. And like, for example, this morning I posted something about Love Story on FX, which I'm obsessed with. And like, I don't know, I walked in the office this morning, they were like, we loved it. Like, it's so funny. And so when you are being yourself, when people know who you are, it attracts the right tribe. I really believe that. And it's not about listing every house. It's about like the right people finding you, which is important. So I do mix it up with like stuff that's like funny and engaging and relevant, but also sharing like, real estate humor and real estate education on social media. A big thing for me this year has been I picked 25, it was somewhere between 25 and 30 expired listings at the end of December that had come off in the fourth quarter of 2025. And I've been pushing those really hard with both mail, um, sending them a postcard or a letter or whatnot. Also doing a little pop by, with, I think I took some hot chocolate like the week we had like, below freezing temperatures and was like, stay warm, like the market spring is coming. And so that's been very successful for me so far this year. I've had 2 appointments. Actually, I think I've had 3 appointments and 2 signed paperworks. And so far out of those 25 listings. But the one key that has been very helpful and I am expanding on as well is the Chalk Digital campaign. Of course, like we get 1 free week with every new listing. And if you're not using that and you're not mentioning it on your listing appointments, you're missing out. But you can run like, I thought you had to have both an address and an email address to do a contact list, but you do not. And you can start with as few as 20 contacts and you can have their home address and or their email address. And so I'm running digital ads about that are made for me in Chalk Digital. And it's like, having the right agent is the first step of the process. And of course, it's got my picture up there. People are clicking that and you can see who's clicked it. So not only do you see who's being shown the ad, but you can see who clicked the ad. And so then it's like, oh, if you clicked my ad, then I'm going like extra, like, of course, I'm going to send you like something in the mail, that's more personalized or run a little CMA and do different things like that. And so that has been a game changer for me because I don't want to be the agent. I know there are services out there that you can get their phone number and text and call, but I don't want to do it prospect from a place of like annoyance and frustration. I want to do it out in a respectful way where it's like, I'm here to add value and I know my value. And I think that's kind of what's coming across.
I think they were saying in North Carolina, we had around 400 expired listings this year. And so I love how you're targeting that, right? You targeted 25 good expired listings that you want. And I think you're doing something that nobody's thought about before with the Chalk Digital ads.
I mean, the results, I will say this. I spent a grand total. I think the first time I had 400 names because I was also targeting my sphere. And they anticipate that you'll get about 50 to 70% of the people they can reach with the ads. But I mean, like my bill was less than $80 for the first month. And that was, I think like over 4,000 or 6,000 impressions.
I mean, doing mail, doing pop buys, all those other things, that's going to cost more than $80.
Correct.
I mean, it's brilliant. Amber, you were also using Chalk Digital a lot.
Yeah, so I had a few listings that actually closed after we had our first Rethink meeting this year, where we spoke about Chalk Digital. So I went back and I actually ran campaigns on my sold listings. I never thought that I could do that. Never thought that I was going to have kind of some interest from a sold listing, especially a few weeks after. And I actually went on 2 listing appointments from those sold Chalk Digital ads because they said we were so interested of what happened. And I actually came to find out that a town that I've been interested in selling in just had a reassessment. So that opened the window too of kind of realizing how you can use that radius and you can use a sale to be able to get these contacts moving through Chalk Digital.
No, I love it. Talking about using your resources, I mean, Mandy, when you were talking about social media again, and being kind of like that investigator, talk about that a little bit.
I love that word, Casey, investigator. So I'm Mandy Moultrie from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, York Simpson Underwood Realty in Raleigh, North Carolina. A few things, and I'm kind of tying a few of what other people are saying together. I'll start with Meta. So anything Instagram and Facebook, as people have mentioned, if you've watched Jimmy Burgess's calls, people are watching you, whether they are truly engaging like you would like them to, meaning they're not sharing your content, they are not liking your content, but they are watching. And you can now see that because Meta is sharing it. So something I'm doing more and more recently, thanks to this group, is looking at that, tracking those people, seeing where they're going in their life, engaging with their content. I think something we talked about in this group was teaching the algorithm. Kaylee, you talked about that a little bit as well, in the way that you're engaging with people, but you're showing Meta who you want to see and who you want to see you. And so when you're commenting, when you're saving their content. Maybe you're sharing one of their listings if it's another agent in a different area. If it is one of your clients or someone you would like to be a client and you're engaging with them regularly, messaging them is a big deal. Commenting on their content, as you mentioned, but also saving. Saving is a little thing that they may never see, but you will. And it's really easy to do and it's free, guys. So go do it. People enjoy it. People appreciate it. And it's certainly something that pays forward. So one other thing that I'll say, Casey, because you mentioned kind of the investigation piece, Ryan, you're doing it, not just taking that, data online, but using it one step further and then researching where they are. So maybe they do own a home in Raleigh, North Carolina, or in Connecticut or Massachusetts or wherever it is, reaching out, figuring out where that could be, maybe sending them, a note about their favorite coffee shop that it just opened up a second location. Maybe they are having a baby and you can send them, an update on something new that's come out in the area that they can benefit from. Simply making it about real estate in a way that they may not have thought about before is something that I think is really important for our business. And that's why we get paid. We get paid because we're a value asset to our clients to do the things that we do every day that they don't. And so that's been really wonderful for me. And then lastly, I'll just triple down on the Chalk Digital to say that it wasn't something I was utilizing before at all. And I have made sure that every listing that I have coming up either has a location tag on that listing, meaning I'm sending out a commercial ad nearby with my information on it, or very specific to the home, something that boosts 1 week after our normal sponsored boost that we get because we're such a wonderful company. So other than that, those are the things that I'm doing to engage and follow up with my clients and create more opportunities for business.
No, I love it. We're talking about prospecting today, right? So you have to have different buckets of business. You have to have a sphere bucket. That's how most of us at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services like to work. But you have to have, that cold bucket that we're all kind of a little nervous about using. So I love how Chalk can kind of go back and forth between both if you're working with people you don't know or people you do know. But again, a lot of us like to work off relationships and keeping those relationships and how to stay in touch with, our people constantly. And I think, Ryan, you've talked about this before about how you really pop by with your people and stay in touch with them regularly.
I do love a pop by, especially, like when it's seasonal. And so for my biggest and my most favorite is in December, I take a roll of wrapping paper to anybody and everybody. I usually buy it at the Dollar Tree or at Aldi or Lidl, where you can get it for under $1.50. I did buy 300 rolls after Christmas for 75% off that are currently in my mom's attic for 2026. But I take it to anybody and everybody. I take it to anybody I did business with, in the past. I take it to 4 or 5 houses on each side of the street across from a listing I sold that year, because they've gotten my just listed, they've gotten my just sold postcard. Now let me hit them with something that I think is going to be memorable and helpful and useful. I take it to my dentist office, and here's one for all the hygienists. Here's one for at the bank tellers, like all those different things. But of course, I do different things. Like this month, I bought, my niece was selling Girl Scout cookies, and she loves me because I bought, 75 boxes. So I will be taking Girl Scout cookies will be the new thing. I did some chocolates. And so I don't do as like 400 in a month like I do in December. It's very easy because you're always just seeing people. But typically I try to do touch all my people like once a quarter.
No, I love that. Amber, you do this with your clients. You stay in flow with them so well.
Hey, Amber Carlton with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Premier Properties out of Fargo, North Dakota, also servicing the Lakes area in Minnesota. Yes, so I am almost entirely sphere-based at this point. So keeping up with my people is huge. I've done the Ninja selling installation. If you haven't checked that out, I know Rethink, a lot of our Rethink group has done that. And what I was going to touch on for keeping in flow, a couple of things I do, I guess, to answer your question first, Casey, would be birthday and anniversary videos. You don't need to pay for a service to do this. You can go on and use Cloud HQ. It's a Gmail extension. It is totally free, and you can schedule, send, and batch a month at a time. for anniversaries and birthdays for all of your clients, I would say I don't know, 30 to 40% that I do respond every single month saying like, "Oh my gosh, I just love these. It's so good to hear from you." Um, but what I was going to touch on is like sometimes we make things harder than it needs to be. Like we don't have to make it so hard on ourselves. And another big ninja principle is your next transaction is buried in the transaction you're working on right now. So how do we just lean into making the client experience so much better and really truly advocating for them using the fiduciary, leveling up that so that we're getting those referrals right off of the cuff versus grind and grind and grind. And that plays back into that sphere base. One other thing I do is annual evaluations. I've got a template. If anyone wants it, just reach out to me, send me a DM through Instagram, and I will send it to you. And once a year, it's like a mini CMA with a letter saying, hey, take this to your homeowner's insurance, take this to your financial planner, make sure that you have an accurate value on your properties. And that just solidifies you as like, you're not in it with commission breath. You're not in it to make money. You're in it to represent these people for life because that's what our brand stands for.
No, 100%. And I love how you keep your sphere and how you're just yourself, authentic. I mean, and having business built off sphere, that's what we all strive to do, right? Eventually. You're doing great.
Can I add one thing, Casey? You just reminded me of one thing. So authenticity, I know we talked on it earlier on social media. I am just now adding vulnerability and authenticity in like ways I never imagined to my social media, and it has lit on fire. I've got clients commenting saying like best realtor ever. I'm not talking about real estate at all. I'm talking about personal struggles in my life. I'm talking about an addiction to a to-do list. Like be real and be vulnerable with your people. We want the right clients, right? We don't want everybody. We don't even like everybody. We want the people who like the things we do. And we do. We're people pleasers, guilty, huge people pleaser. But why? It's not it. So be vulnerable in your social.
People want to see real, right? That's why reality TV is a thing. I mean, I know they filter it, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, Ryan, you've talked about that so much this year too about, I mean, I know we've talked about authenticity on social media. I know several of y'all have said it. So pop back out of mute or chime in if I'm saying something different, but you've had so many success in the last like month, I feel like.
Yeah. And I did up my social game, with some different items that are just, I don't know. I want to be funny. I want to be myself. I feel like, I like to be, we want to be educational. We want to be, the person around town highlighting new and local places. But I think that truly being relatable is something that people watch and engage. And so it's definitely, I know it's authentic to me, and that's why I'm comfortable sharing the content. What has been the hardest part for me is being like, oh, is that what I want to share myself with the world? Like, is this a safe space? Because, the internet can be a dangerous place too. But I've gotten a lot of love, some haters, but a lot of love. And it's definitely everywhere I've gone, like, people were, past clients, like calling me out of the blue, like, oh my gosh, this was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, okay, like, how are you? Good to hear from you.
I love it. About being authentic, Mandy, you've never even mentioned this, but I want you to talk about it too, is your stories. You've done this since day one, and I've watched you since day one. You show up online, you look fabulous regardless, but you show up regardless of your day.
Amen. It is not me. So I'm going to call out an agent right now. So Bo Brommel, he's in our office here in North Hills in Raleigh. We have very experienced agents here. Some of them have no social media. Some of them have all of it. And one day he said to me, just be consistent. Whatever you do, be consistent. Whatever fits you, whatever you can show up and do every day. And so that's my one thing. Whether I feel like I can, whether I feel like I can't, whether I'm in my workout clothes at an inspection. I think, Amber, you were talking about that earlier, doing that more, and you are. And I just want to call you out on that. You've really stepped up your game there as well, being consistent and being on more. But stories, it was kind of my thing. It kind of just happened, honestly. And it was uncomfortable at first. I would go back and look at old ones and I cringe. Look at some days I'm like, well, I was wearing that, because it'll archive your stuff now. Or I didn't have that makeup on or whatever. But it is so fun also. It's like watching, if you have kids or a dog, or just going back and look at old pictures of high school, or middle school when you were little and had braces. It's kind of cool to watch the change. But I do, to everybody's point, a lot of you have talked about connecting, and I just feel like my people are there, and you feel like you're going through the struggle and you're going through the successes with all of your friends. And being on stories makes it not seem so high pressure for me for that, Casey. So yeah,
So I guess that's my question, because I think I hear this all the time of, I don't like myself on video. I don't like myself. I don't like how I sound. I mean, we have 254 people right now online. And I bet you half of them will go, I don't like the way I am online. I don't like to see myself. How did you get over that?
To me?
Yeah. Or anybody.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. No one cares. Like, everybody's worried about themselves. They're not really worried about you. So if you are going to be consistent, you've got to get out of that comfort zone and rip the Band-Aid at some point. Somebody else.
I had an agent tell me, you just post it and you don't look back. You don't rewatch it. It is what it is, and just move on with your day. And taking that advice, watching Mandy too, that motivates you. And, you just have to figure out, I am who I am. Everyone is who they are. We're not all perfect. Let's just make it real. And that's where the connections come from.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about connecting. We talked about relationships, showing up authentically. I don't think my accent can say that word. Authentically. There we go. I think my accent can say that one. But Kaylee, you're doing something that hasn't been touched on yet, because let's talk about getting new people again, right? Because we're all trying to build our businesses. We're all powerhouses. We want more and more and more. We've all heard of home buying presentations, and I think we hear it a lot. They don't work. It's just like the open house thing. They don't work. They don't work. But Kaylee, you've taken it to a different level, and we haven't touched on that today. Can you talk about how you're doing it different? Because I thought it was great.
Yes, absolutely. So, a couple years ago, I noticed a lot of people talking about how they didn't know much about the home buying process. It's a big question mark. We didn't learn this in school. I am a younger agent. And so a lot of people have just graduated college. They're in their early to mid 20s, and they want to know, they're too scared to reach out to somebody, but they want to know what the home buying process is like. They want to talk to a lender, but they're too scared to do so. So they'll find, a lender online that they don't have to be face to face with. And local lenders are always better. So I have paired up with a local lender here, and I do teach home buyer education classes. I don't call them first time home buyer, because I have had people that have bought a house before come back. But the way I make it the way I go about it a little differently is by DMing people. I go directly to you by texting, DM, Messenger, and I say something about them. So I try to kind of, like Mandy said, stalk their profile a little, see what they've been up to, congratulations on your recent marriage, or, something like that, and then go into the body of my text and invite them to my office. I do them over Zoom as well, but I find the magic really happens when they show up in person. Conversations are always better. Face-to-face is always better. So I do invite them to come to my office. I do also have a spreadsheet where I keep track of who I've last asked. I do them once a quarter, but really DMing is you can't post and cross your fingers and hope people are going to sign up. You really have to go directly to the person. And the law of reciprocity in two ways. One, saying something about them, and then going into your spiel, but also educating them. They're clients that, like I said, like your ideal client, you feel like you've educated them. They're yours. Like they want to work with you because you've given them so much knowledge that hasn't been given to them in any other aspect. So that's just been something that I have really ran with. Each class I have a ton of people show up, and I've closed several deals from it. I just started to build my database that way, but it's really became something where people are having conversations with family, because I think they come to this class and they're like, hey, exploring their options. So a lot of people have been able to achieve homeownership sooner than they had even expected. And also another thing is I gear it to buying in the next 1 to 5 years. So it's not something now. In the title, it says, or the subtitle, it says for buying, in the next 1 to 5 years. So it's not, I'm not going to pressure, it's just education. And I think that's really helpful for a lot of younger people.
I think that's really great. It's just using something that we know everybody has talked about at one point. I mean, there's probably every agent on here has probably either thought about or, done a buying increase in, a first-time home buyer class. And, it's hard to get that sweet spot of people coming in, but I think you've mastered, doing it both ways of meeting people who you don't know and DMing them through social medias who's liking your post. And then, capturing them in person is great.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Sandy, you're popping up on me.
Yeah, Kaylee, just a quick question. Joanna's asking, have you found a time of day or day of the week where you have a greater success for the hosting opportunity?
Yeah, so when I do them in person, I typically do Saturdays from 10 to 12. I do think it could be pushed out a little bit later, maybe, noon to 2, but really it only takes about 1 hour. They're drinking from a fire hose anyway, so it's a ton of information. But I also want to add too that my lender does give most of the information just because it's talking about, what goes into a credit score, what makes up all of these things that, again, that's the real, part of it. But yeah, I would say on Saturdays 10 to 12 is when I usually do them. And then when I do the Zoom ones, I typically do Wednesdays from about 6 to 7:30. Again, it doesn't typically take the full 2 hours, but yeah, that's when I found the sweet spot. Yeah.
Perfect. Saves people a lot of time figuring that out.
Hey, Casey, I have a follow-up question kind of for Kaylee. And have you ever taken the seller, I guess, angle on this and maybe done some education around selling and attorneys or estates and kind of partnered with an attorney or any other third parties? Just
I
curious.
have not done the seller, seller aspect, but I have had a homeowner's insurance gal come in. And so I have brought in other people, but really just on the buyer side of things. So homeowner's insurance, lender, and then myself, I have thought about getting like a CPA or something like that to come in. But that's kind of in future plans, but I haven't done, the whole seller side of things. That's a good point.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
We
Appreciate
just
it.
come up with ideas in here today too. That works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Education wise, Amber, you mentioned a little bit about your real estate reviews. I know a lot of us are ninjas, and in the company, most of us are ninjas. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So I do a real estate review. I do 2 a week, and I mail mine. They're much more efficient when you meet in person. So I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage me to do that too.
No magic button.
Right. So I have a template for this as well. If you would like it, just DM me on Instagram and I will shoot it over to you. But I just really quick go into my MLS and I pull active sold closed for a 1/4 mile radius around the property and do a statistical CMA. So it gives me this average numbers right off the cuff, pop and play that into the template. And then I print out the little list of houses that come up and I pop it in a handwritten note just saying, hey, here's a little update, snapshot, what's going on in your neighborhood. Because everyone sees the signs, right, all over, and they're all curious and maybe they dig into it or maybe not. But this is just you showing you're thinking of them, you're looking out for them, you want them to know what's going on in the neighborhood, whether or not it's even similar to what they have listed. So that's kind of how I do the real estate reviews. The annual eval is it's more like a 10-minute mini CMA. So that one's more intense and only once a year.
You know what's so interesting? I love a real estate review. I built my businesses on real estate reviews when I was selling. I love a real estate review. And I have agents in my office in our company, and there's a roadblock with them. People are like, how do I do it without being salesy? And I've tried explaining it, but maybe people will hear you when you say it. How do you keep it from being salesy?
So I actually just send it, and it would be much better if I followed it up with a, hey, did you get this? I would love to take you to coffee, and just get in front of them again that way. And that would not be salesy at all.
Right.
And it's not salesy as it is, but as of right now, I'm not doing the follow-up, but something I will work on.
2026 is about growing, right?
Goals.
You go. Joe, you do something similar with your annual getting together about what their value is too.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say I'm loving the conversation. I feel like everything we're talking about today is like we're baking a cake, there's like all these different layers that we're describing, whether it's, prospecting through Sphere, new business, digital, versus some of the older school Ninja, Buffini. And yeah, there's other ways that I like to provide value to, like, kind of what piggybacking off of what Amber was talking about. We had a listing recently, kind of in a key market where I do a lot of business, and it was an investor like fixer upper. So, to kind of do a layer of circle prospecting, I reached out to any investor, my team has ever had contact with, and I put a deal of the week email out, and within an hour I had a call from an investor who wanted all the information, and he was very serious about putting in an offer. And we actually, just generating all this activity, we ended up getting 14 offers in like 6 days on this property. So I think there's just, what I love is like we're not reinventing the wheel, we're just kind of building upon the things that have been done before. So Ryan was talking about the Popeyes, which I love. Like, he has taken the wrapping paper in December to like the next level. And what I love doing about Popeyes too was instead of, I try to just go a little bit above and beyond of like what my clients might really love. So instead of just getting coffee from like Starbucks, I ended up getting coffee from a trip that I went on out in Puerto Rico, and I brought it back, and I said, was thinking of you in my note, here's some coffee I brought back from my trip. And I got such great feedback from that. So I feel like what's so great about the things we're talking about is we're like enhancing, the things that we all do.
It's about enhancing our value. But it sounds like I need to be your client for coffee, and I need to be Ryan's client for cookies. Is what it sounds like I need to be. So I will send y'all my addresses, so that can be part of that group. Guys, we're talking about a lot. I think we've gone back from cold, we've gone to warm, we've talked about prospecting. Is there anything that we're missing that y'all need to share with everybody? Go ahead, Amber.
Yeah. One other thing I had written down, and this is actually how I got into luxury collection. I had a luxury buyer. There was nothing in the Fargo market they wanted. So we went looking around, driving around, and wrote down addresses, and I put together a custom letter, and I have templates for this too if anybody wants. Just saying, hey, I have a buyer who's very interested in your house. I will add a little asterisk here. Actually have a buyer, please. Don't be somebody who's just sending that out without a buyer, because then when you do have a buyer, people don't believe you. Ran into that with that. But one of the homes we reached out to, they welcomed us in. I showed it to them. I got there an hour before the showing, which I arranged with the seller to take thorough notes walking through. So when my clients were coming through, they knew what was going on, and I was presenting it properly to them. It was not the house for my buyers, but I would say 5 days later, the seller reached out to me and said, we want to list, and we want to list with you. And that literally was what got me into luxury. They sold that. I sold another home for them in the future, and so on and so on. So if you have low inventory still, which I think quite a few of us do, and you have buyers looking for things, this is, once again, how do we make it an exceptional experience for our buyers? We go find them a house. Just because it's not listed doesn't mean it's not out there. So look into that.
I'm going to interrupt with a couple of questions that are in the chat right now. It's an interesting concept. Do you consider social media, doing your video and your social media work, we'll use the air quotes for that, part of your prospecting activities, or is that just someone else? I mean, does that fall into some other category for you, some other bucket? And second to that, when you're doing your video and your prep for what you're putting out, is that something you build into your schedule on a weekly basis, on a daily basis? How do you know what to do? Anybody?
Yeah,
question for anybody. Jump in.
I'll answer the first part of it. I think it does fall into prospecting. I think it's also branding, depending on how you want to brand yourself. But I do think it's prospecting in the way what everyone was talking about, whether it be posts or reels or stories. I do think it keeps you top of mind. I think it's like people know multiple real estate agents. So when you're kind of out there and continuing that consistency, I do think you'll be top of mind. So I would put it in the prospecting category.
Especially how y'all are using it, right? I mean, you're talking about Kaylee using it for DMing people for the educational classes. You have Mandy using it for her investigation work on who she needs to do a real estate review for, who's on their home too long now, right? Or have things like that. So I definitely think it's a prospecting category. But you probably do time block certain parts too. I know you do professional videos. I think Ryan does professional videos, Mandy. Probably all of you at this point. But so I know you have to time block those things specifically.
Yeah, Ryan, do you want to go first about your professional stuff, and then I'll kind of tag on with some of the Instagram?
Okay. So I do a professional like hour-and-a-half session with the videographer, and I'm like, I want to do this, and then they can do some of the effects and the different things that you do in. And so that's once a month for a time block. But then there's a group of agents here locally. They're not all Berkshire Hathaway Home Services agents, but they will invite, like it started when a builder wanted to do like a broker's open, but it was like, hey, come to our model home and film content. And so like some of us, like they do it once a month. They usually get a model home. And so like you can get B-roll and do whatnot, like, and then just have it and it comes into place. Like I'm using B-roll that I filmed 6 months ago now, like on content. So, I mean, that's super helpful. And so if you film stuff intentionally, then you can go and kind of put that in batches.
Yeah. And similarly, I mean, I think like you were saying earlier, Casey, don't make it too hard on yourself. Like I think people see time blocking. Some people, not everybody, some people love it. Other people get really overwhelmed by it. And I think it goes back to that authenticity and the consistency piece, is just showing up. So showing up on social media, it's not only just about having other people see you, but again, telling Meta and Facebook that you're relevant. So Instagram, all of that. That's why I do it on a daily basis as much as possible. And I'm really fighting for my clients, right? So if I've got a listing out there, I want it to sell for them. Yes, the benefit is that we do our job at the end of the day, right? But it's about them. It's not about me. So I'm out here sharing everything, telling everybody about everybody, sending it to people that live in Youngsville. If it's a Youngsville listing, pick your neighbor, right? If it's in Cary or Durham or Lillington and some of our more rural areas, I absolutely share it with people that I know live there and tell people to tell people, right? Tell a friend to tell a friend or whatever, if you know that song. So anyways,
it's you are with that, right? Because you're like, okay, I have Youngsville friends. I'm going to share my listing with Youngsville people.
Yep.
Right. Like, so it's like, don't just share video and hope that it does something on Instagram or Facebook.
And that's LinkedIn too, by the way. Sorry. I know, Joe, you mentioned LinkedIn earlier about algorithm. That's LinkedIn people. Those are qualified, employed, usually some people looking for jobs, right? Buyers and sellers are on LinkedIn. So go share your listings, go share what you need, your buyer needs on LinkedIn, and who knows what you'll find. So plug.
I'm gonna have to call out Austin here for a quick second because it's getting called out in the chat.
I don't know why you would do something like that. I'm Casey facilitate this one.
So everybody thinks, they're like, we've heard from everyone, but what's the problem with Austin? Why isn't he talking?
I'm certainly okay being mute. Most of the time I'm not. So my mom's in the office with me and just started laughing.
For those of you who might have missed the first couple minutes when we were doing the intro, Austin is also one of our broker advisors, the same role as Casey. Casey's got the lead on this one. You'll see Austin taking the lead on June 4th at 11 a.m., which is our next Rethink Live. But we're going to let him spit out some knowledge here, or a question, or jump in and let everybody know.
I'm going to answer the question that just Deborah threw into chat. Perfect. How late is too late to advertise a property on Chalk Digital? So I am a huge proponent of Chalk Digital. All these wonderful individuals know that. I don't think it's ever too late, but I want to ask the ones of you that are currently using Chalk Digital after our meeting, are you using it in your listing appointments to leverage securing the listing agreement and your compensation? Mandy, I'll let you go.
Yes, I'll just say yes, yes. I think it's just that icing on the cake, right? I mean, absolutely. Some people do, Zillow Showcase and some other things, and that's great. Homes.com. I mean, there's so many opportunities for agents out there, but Chalk Digital has really, I think, because there's various ways to engage Chalk Digital. It's not just one option. There's different tiles when you go into Resource Center or whatever platform you're using to engage with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Corporate. Yes. Yes and yes.
I think the seller reports too are another way of kind of going through and being able to show what this Chalk Digital is able to do, and that you're getting those live reports going to your sellers because you're including their email address. And through including them, it's also going out into their universe because they are now being targeted as well to see these ads. So I think it's a big extra advantage that we have to start promoting of this is what we're able to do that not everyone is.
Sandy, remind me, how many people are on Rethink again? I know, I'm sorry, like 14, 16 of us, something like that?
Yes.
14. I don't think there's a Rethink person on our council right now that's not using Chalk Digital, if that's saying something.
Yeah.
Right. So to all the people who are watching this, you have top performing agents, and they're all saying they're utilizing Chalk Digital. That speaks volumes. Right.
And by the way, when you go to Resource Center, or if you are or My Connect, and then to Resource Center to access that, or if you want to join us, want to reach out to one of these agents and they'll help you connect to the right person, because we're doing this live, right? So this is for people that don't necessarily work at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. But Chalk Digital is a great an underutilized asset, and these folks are just learning that. Austin shared a lot of information when we all got together in January at our corporate headquarters, and a lot of these people have turned immediately around and start implementing that, and are seeing the benefits of doing so. But they have a broad variety of programs that you can do, all the way down to television ads on streaming services. So it's fabulous and a great tool.
And we met at the end of January, right? So we met at the end of January, and I mean, we have so y'all know that we talk constantly. My phone dings constantly. They're always talking about what they're getting out of Chalk Digital. Yeah. I mean, it's constant every other day. So definitely look into it and ask about it.
While we're talking about sellers, just here on the reports going out to sellers, what about the seller activity report? Another resource that's available to you, and the newly reformatted marketing activity report, which would be for buyers. Amber, would you speak to that a little bit?
Amazing. My mind is blown. I'm sending the seller activity report along with my Zillow showcase report to all of my listings that are sitting, which is not many right now. But still, it gives them that weekly update. Here's what's actually going on. And it's right there. It's ready to go. It's free. And then with the market activity report, holy Hannah, if you're doing any type of farming, get into Resource Center if you're a Berkshire agent, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, make sure I don't say that wrong, agent, get into Resource Center and go look at that market activity report. I have been asking for 10 years for like neighborhood maps to know exactly where some of these neighborhoods are. It has everything. And you just click on it. It's all interactive and it'll tell you anything you want to know. And it's there. It's beautiful. You have to check it out. Blown away.
So what I'm hearing is it's a great research tool, not just a tool that you can use with buyers.
Well, yeah. And for farming, if you do farming for prospecting, that's going to be gold. You can break it up however you want to, and it will give you just a ton to go off of. And I clicked on one neighborhood. There's nothing available. Wow. So if I wanted to get in that neighborhood, wouldn't that be the best opportunity to send out a mailer to all of them saying, hey, there's nothing for sale in this sought after neighborhood. If you thought about selling, this is it. Go.
One thing that another Rethink council member brought up was it's almost like the 6 month real estate review. And so I know a lot of you do the real estate reviews once a year, but there was like a really great letter that came out that you could do 6 months into you have selling in a neighborhood. So this can not just be your listing, but it could be in your buyer neighborhood. And it's basically going, hey, my name is such and such. I sold in your neighborhood 6 months ago. This is what's happened since then. If it's been more than 6 months since your last evaluation of your home, like hit me up. I mean, they were probably better than that, but you know what I'm saying? You put ChatGPT, right? If you have problems, call Joe. Joe knows how to do it with chat. Right. So that's a great point. Like 6 months in a year, right? There's so many times to pop in with these people to prospect buyers or sellers out of that letter.
On the market activity report and the seller activity report, you can set that up for delivery digitally through your set to whomever's email address. They're also printable now. So for those of you who are on the call that might have seen those reports last year or 2 years ago, and we have a completely new vendor creating that report for us now, and it is very, very consumer friendly.
So Sandy, just to double down on this a little bit, because I see it in the chat.
Yes.
So Sage CRM is the name.
Yes.
I think there was some confusion because we were all talking about Chalk as well as Sage.
Yeah.
So the market activity report and the seller activity report are in Sage, correct, Amber?
That is
and
correct.
then some of these other things are Chalk Digital. But I'm going to double down on something Austin does well, is following up using multiple tools. And it's something that I've seen success with recently, which is when you get that ad and maybe there's a lead that comes from Chalk Digital, maybe not, but you see that engagement on Chalk Digital, use that information then to find out information about that seller or buyer or person, and then go send them that market activity report, right, for their neighborhood. If you're getting an address, if you know where they live now because they've shared that information, you can get the digital version, you can print it out and mail it. There's so many ways to re-engage. Austin, you do that really well. You teach your agents really well how to do those things. And it's something that I've definitely seen traction with these last couple months.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off all this too, I think something that is a great tool is doing a home valuation sort of alert for your clients. So I find I've done this now for over a year consistently, where I send out monthly home valuations for people to see the value of their home. And it's one of my favorite tools, and it's one of the most engaged tools that I use. There's a lot of different ones out there. In Fox and Roach, in our community, we use Real Scout Pro. It's not available nationwide, I think, for all Berkshire, even though you could use it. But I had a success story where I put it into place and I got a call in like a week, and they were like, I saw my valuation report. Like I want to list, and it was an orphan. Like I sold the house years ago, and a person bought it, and they remembered me, and I kept their email, and that's how I got it, and I listed that home last summer. So I think that's a great tool that people should be using. Any sort of home valuation tool.
I love it. Guys, we're getting really close, Sandy, right? Like we got a couple more minutes.
Yes.
Please shoot out anything that y'all haven't talked about. Let's share the knowledge. Is there anything you're like, hey guys, you need to do this?
So I'm just going to say, like, I mean, in the resource center, like when I've been mailing these prospective sellers the expired listings, the material is already made for you. And so literally, I don't know how the blue light, but anyway, there's a flyer here for Chalk Digital. And then of course, in the resource center, put your picture on the back. And I take that with a letter, I mail that flyer with a letter to them, like, hey, did your last agent list your house or did they market your house? Like, I'm here to market it. And ChatGPT has helped me write these letters that they're persuasive and, hit to one point. And the same thing with the Zillow showcase. I don't know if we can still, I don't know why it's blocking out, but anyway, this is the postcard. And of course it's like done for you. And, it's like, it's easy to do, to find things to send and what you can offer these clients. I don't think anybody else offers, what we do.
No. And like, guys, I've been with the company 11 years and it's constantly changing. So if you've been with a company for a while and you're like, you think you know what's in there, you don't. Go back. Like there's so many amazing resources that are in there. Their flyer resources, the digital resources, they're amazing. So please, please, please use them. That's what we make them for. Well, I don't make them, but others do. Mandy.
I was going to say something because I know a lot of things we've been talking about cost money. And I think as a new agent, sometimes you feel like your pocketbook has already been drained by your MLS or whoever else, right? But some of these resources, to Ryan's point, are free. So I challenge you to take some of those resources, maybe make a binder at your office or wherever. These little flyers, print them out and bring them to a soccer practice. If you have kids in soccer, bring them, create value where you are. Like, it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be expensive. I think it's really hard to feel like you're alone or like you don't have the money to do stuff at the beginning, or when you're in a rut, or, you're not closing as many things that you would like to, right? Or your market is slow, quote unquote. Like, it can be so tough. So just know that we're all in that boat together, and there are creative ways to do things. Just reach out to us if you need those things, because we're all here to support each other. We need each other in this business.
I love
Be
it.
sure to follow us on socials. Those will be put in the chat here as well, so that you can follow the Rethink Council on socials. You'll pick up a lot of information as we share our posts every week, including a regular spotlight on one of our agents that is on the Rethink Council, one of our council members. Any last minute comments from everyone? Because
Yes, Austin.
I would say,
I see you, Austin. I see you always.
I would say lean into like your Zillow showcase and download it as a PDF, send it to your cell phone, take a screenshot of it, and save it as an image, because you can text that to multiple people in a very rapid state and cover a lot of ground. And like what you're doing, Ryan, with, are you marketing homes, or are you hiring someone to list your home? When you can drop an image in a chat and totally make a disruption in their thought process, you are gaining market share you'll never lose.
Exactly.
So
thank you, everybody. Well, go ahead, Sandy.
No, thank you, Casey, for leading a wonderful discussion with our agents across the country, whether it's morning or afternoon, because we've got folks from Hawaii to Maine or Delaware or come on, Ambry, what would be furthest east? I'm very bad at geography.
Maine.
I got it on the first try. That was a complete accident. Mark your calendars for June 4th at 11 a.m. Pacific, and join us for our next Rethink Live. Don't forget that we'll have a couple of panels and agent spotlights at the National Convention in Nashville, which is the end of this month, March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And we will also have on Sunday evening an opportunity to rub elbows with some of these people at our Rethink Mixer. If you need an invitation to that, please reach out to us. We'll make sure that you've got that. It was sent out to everyone in the network. And in the meantime, we're here to figure out how to make this experience in real estate better for all of us. So if you've got some great ideas, if you might be a candidate for a Rethink Council seat next year, keep us in mind. Applications open in September. With that, make it a great week. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in Nashville in just a short time. And thank you all for your time and attention.